complete, and, bar a complete about-face by the Sussexes, it is final.
The night felt thick with tension, the kind that squeezes your chest and just won't let go. Prince Harry walked back and forth through his California home, restless and caged in his own thoughts, like someone trapped in a room with no doors, no windows, only the sound of his own heartbeat echoing in the quiet. This wasn't about photographers chasing him or gossip columns spinning headlines. It wasn't even about the online chatter that tracks his every move. No, this hit different. This was personal, deep, private, and quietly intense in a way no article could ever explain. Those close to him said it was final, a total change for the Sussexes with no going back. People near Harry revealed he hadn't really slept in days, his nerves stretched thin as wire. He muttered to himself under his breath, stopping now and then to stare at the glowing screens in front of him, as if they were about to show him something life-changing. And then there was DL, the woman whose name had been wiped clean from the public eye, hidden behind contracts and carefully guarded silence. She wasn't some rumor floating online. She was real, and she was ready to tell a story that could flip everything upside down. For years, everyone thought they knew the truth, the joyful announcements, the glowing public appearances, the magazine-ready smiles that looked like moments of pure happiness. To the world, it was a modern royal fairy tale, but DL's version cut through all that shine with precision. Calm, steady, and confident, she said she had proof, piece by piece, that connected her to something much deeper in the story, and she wasn't backing down. DL stepped forward, saying she had proof, medical records, DNA-related paperwork, travel details, appointment logs. Every single document she claimed had been hidden from the public eye. Every timestamp, every signature, all lined up and saved. It was the kind of revelation that made legal teams whisper and major institutions tense up, because if even a piece of what she said checked out, the image surrounding the Duchess of Sussex would come under serious questioning. And even more shocking, it would force Harry to face parts of his past he'd tried to keep sealed away. When Harry spoke during that interview, fans noticed something in his tone that felt off, shaken, almost like he was holding back something heavy. Insiders say that when DL presented her side of the story, calm, clear, and sharply detailed, Harry's world felt like it split in two. The illusions, the perfect public moments, the carefully choreographed family image, gone in an instant. DL wasn't shouting or trying to stir chaos. Her calmness made it all hit harder. Her frustration was quiet but fierce, the kind that cuts deep. She wasn't demanding fame or drama. She wanted acknowledgement. She wanted her truth to be seen, recorded, and impossible to ignore. DL claimed she had been erased, completely removed from the official version of events. No mention, no recognition, no closure. Reports say Harry was completely overwhelmed when the weight of DL's claims finally hit him. The truth he thought was long buried now stood right in front of him, impossible to ignore. Every carefully planned interview, every polished magazine photo, every cheerful public moment suddenly felt like part of a performance, a mask covering something much deeper. Insiders say he broke down in tears, shaken and heartbroken in a way that left him speechless. He truly believed he was protecting his family, keeping private matters away from the chaos of public judgment. But now he finally understood the real price, and it wasn't just gossip or criticism. It was the quiet sting of regret. DL also claimed that the entire system played a part in hiding her side of the story. She said that powerful institutions helped shape a spotless image of Meghan, the radiant Duchess, perfectly composed, glowing with joy in every photo. But behind those polished doors, DL claimed things were far from effortless. Then came the paperwork, the kind of official documents that should have been simple and clear. Instead, they raised eyebrows. DL said her name had once appeared in connection with Archie's early records, but was later replaced with one that fit a smoother, more official version of events. She dismissed the idea that this was just an innocent mistake. In her view, it was intentional, a strategic move move meant to shut down any questions about her connection or her role. Even the timing of public appearances and official announcements is now being questioned. DL claimed that when Archie was first introduced to the world, he was already several weeks old, and that Lilibet's debut followed a similar timeline, long after her actual arrival. To DL, none of this was a coincidence. She said it was careful image control, built on illusion and timing. Sources familiar with the legal side of things say preparations are already in motion. If DL truly releases the material she says she has, this won't just spark gossip, it could trigger serious legal debates in both the US and the UK. Questions of heritage, procedure, and transparency could take center stage, putting major institutions under a bright and uncomfortable spotlight. The royal family has weathered centuries of drama, but rarely has its story been challenged so directly, right at its roots. Those close to Harry describe him as deeply unsettled, pacing through the halls late at night, whispering to himself, scrolling through old messages, trying to make sense of how everything turned upside down.
So at the time, Archie Mountbatten Windsor was born May 6, 2019. And this was surrounded by controversy, largely to the unconventional.
The same system he once trusted to keep things private now seems to be exposing him at every turn. The toughest truth? He can't protect Meghan from what's coming, not this time. If DL truly steps forward, her story will race through news sites, tabloids, and social media across the world. The irony cuts deep. Harry walked away from royal life hoping to escape control and secrecy, chasing a future built on openness and peace. But now he's trapped inside a silence of his own making. What was once his protection has turned into a cage. DL claimed that stories can be shaped to fit a certain image, but facts can't be rewritten, and Harry knows that better than anyone. He understands now that the next step isn't about avoiding the truth, it's about facing it head-on. No more hiding behind polished statements or rehearsed answers. This is about confronting what's been buried and accepting whatever comes next. Insiders say a major moment of reckoning is just around the corner. The world may love its fairy tales, but reality always breaks through, and when it does, it doesn't care about headlines or image management. It only cares about what's real, and now Harry is realizing that the truth can bite hard. As the sun rose over Montecito, Harry was already awake, sitting in silence while the morning light cut sharply across the room. His eyes looked strained, his hands fidgeted, and every phone notification felt like a ticking clock counting down to DL's possible reveal. Each alert hit like a warning. She could post her evidence at any moment. Sources say Harry didn't step outside, didn't eat, barely said a word. He sat surrounded by piles of files, messages, receipts, screenshots, travel details, going through every piece like a detective searching for something that could still protect him. But the more he looked, the clearer things became. Every date, every signature, every timestamp only deepened his worry. The story DL was telling wasn't just believable. If proven true, it could be fully confirmed. His legal team warned that even if DL shared just part of her evidence, it could set off a global media storm. British outlets would flood the story, while US networks would analyze every detail. Every claim about his children, his family, and Meghan's image could face public scrutiny. Harry's hands trembled as he opened a file marked Archie Harrison Mountbatten Windsor, Timeline and Documentation. The truth was staring right back at him. The first few pages seemed ordinary, just clinic notes, staff initials, and health documentation focused on care for women and children. But then came the section that made Harry's heart race. Dates, Photos and appointment records all started lining up in ways that made his stomach twist. There were time-stamped images, travel logs, and anonymized names that insiders could easily recognize, all perfectly matching DL's version of events. Everything cross-referenced, consistent, and organized with precision. At the bottom of the file, one bold line froze him in place. All evidence preserved, all correspondence archived, ready for disclosure. Those words hit like a weight on his chest. He leaned back, rubbing his face, feeling years of expectation and pressure crushing down on him. Every choice, every secret, every moment he thought he was protecting his family had brought him right here. Whispering under his breath, he kept repeating, "I did it for them. I did it for them," like a mantra that no longer convinced even himself. But DL's claims weren't just about paperwork. They were about the entire story the world thought it knew. She said the public image of Meghan's pregnancies, the glowing appearances, the smiling moments caught by cameras, had been carefully planned for the world's gaze. According to DL, Archie's birth had happened weeks before his first introduction to the public, and Lilibet had already been under her care before the cameras ever captured her image. Every polished photo, every grand reveal, every glowing snapshot, DL described it all as performance, crafted for the public eye. Friends say that was the moment Harry began to truly understand the depth of what was unfolding. It had all been meant as protection, misguided maybe, but driven by emotion and fear of losing control. Harry had never truly measured how heavy the consequences could become. By late morning, the silence around them started to feel eerie. No posts, no public appearances, no official statements. Analysts began whispering that something big was brewing, and they were absolutely right. DL wasn't setting up a press tease or a media leak. She was preparing to release a full, detailed account backed with proof, verified timelines, and carefully organized evidence. Insiders revealed that DL had spent years quietly gathering and securing every document, every photo, every note, building a record she believed one day would have to come to light. And that day had finally arrived. Harry reportedly sat in his living room surrounded by stacks of papers, pacing from wall to wall, picking up files only to drop them again. He muttered under his breath about duty, love, secrecy, and legacy, like someone fighting battles inside his own head that had been waiting years to be faced. Every phone call that came through made his heart sink lower. Lawyers, advisors, friends, even family, all speaking carefully, all echoing the same warning. Once DL came forward, there would be no going back, no rewrites, no quiet retreat, no control over how the truth would unfold. And that's when, insiders say, Harry made the choice he'd been avoiding for far too long. He decided to stop hiding behind statements and silence. He was going to face it directly, openly, no filters and no escape routes. The emotional reckoning that had been building for years had finally arrived, and there was no more running from it. It wasn't the Meghan Harry thought he knew who answered that call. The calm, composed figure from glossy interviews and camera-ready moments was nowhere to be found. What came through instead was a wave of fear, disbelief, and rising frustration. According to insiders, Meghan's voice was sharp. She questioned, argued, and talked about taking legal steps to protect what they had built. But through it all, Harry stayed steady. "I can't keep this quiet anymore," he reportedly told her, his tone calm but final. The silence that followed was thick. You could almost feel it through the phone. Then came Meghan's response, pointed and emotional. "Are you really going to let her say all that? Are you going to risk everything we worked for?" she demanded. Harry took a deep breath before answering, voice low but unshakable. "I have to. For them, for the kids." And that's when the shift became crystal clear. For the first time in years, Harry wasn't speaking through media handlers, PR teams, or cautious advisors. He wasn't following a carefully crafted script. He was finally stepping out from under the weight of image control. He had made up his mind that the truth, however it turned out, needed to be faced on both sides of the Atlantic. Inside palace circles, the reaction was instant. Aides started whispering, unsure how to respond. There was no prepared statement, no official talking points, nothing ready to contain what might come next. Just the awareness that DL's files existed was enough to set alarm bells ringing across both London and Los Angeles. Behind the scenes, quiet legal meetings kicked off, private consultations, discreet calls to U.S. attorneys, and fast-moving crisis plans started forming. While chaos quietly built behind the scenes, DL didn't slow down for a second. She spent the entire afternoon organizing everything for release: emails, text exchanges, clinic records, travel logs, all perfectly arranged and verified. Every appointment, every message, every timestamp lined up exactly as she claimed. It was all cross-checked, neat, and ready to speak for itself. Sources close to the situation said Harry was glued to his screen watching DL's careful progress with a strange mix of dread and relief. Relief that the truth might finally see daylight, and dread because once it did, there'd be no going back. Even his closest friends admitted they'd never seen him like that before. He reportedly broke down, not for the cameras or the press, but for the first time in years. It wasn't about publicity or sympathy. It was pure, heavy heartbreak from realizing the cost of years spent hiding what couldn't stay hidden forever. As evening settled in, Harry gathered a small group of trusted advisors for an emergency talk. The discussion was heavy and direct. How do we say this? How do we protect the kids? How do we come out of this without destroying what's left? Every question came with risks. Every delay felt dangerous. Every word in a potential statement felt like a trap waiting to backfire. But through all that confusion, one truth remained. DL's story wasn't going away, and if even part of it was proven true, it wouldn't just shift Harry and Meghan's image, it could rewrite what millions believed about their family's history. That night, according to insiders, Harry made one final call. He would step forward first, on his own terms. No leaks, no spin, no spectacle. This was no longer about image or damage control. It was going to be a reckoning, a confession, a release, and maybe even a painful kind of peace. In those final hours before everything came out, people close to Harry said he was strangely calm, quiet, still, focused. The man who had once hidden behind royal titles, fame, and perfectly crafted interviews had made his choice to face it all with honesty. For the first time, he wasn't answering to the public, the palace, or even to Meghan. He was answering to the truth itself. Meanwhile, DL kept working in silence. Those close to her said she wasn't driven by anger or revenge. Her focus was sharper than that. Every file was labeled, every message verified, every photo time-stamped. She wasn't chasing fame or attention. She said she was reclaiming her story, restoring a voice she believed had been wiped from history. Calm, methodical, and determined, DL wasn't just building a case, she was preparing to set the record straight. Somewhere between Montecito and London, across oceans and time zones, both sides were bracing for impact. Insiders whispered that what was about to happen could become one of the most significant revelations in modern royal history. And though Harry seemed ready, the world absolutely was not. As dawn broke over Montecito, the air outside was heavy, tense, almost suffocating. Inside the mansion, Harry couldn't stop pacing, his mind racing through every moment that had led to this point. Every decision, every silence, every carefully hidden truth weighed on him. Friends said he hadn't slept at all, just waiting, knowing DL was hours away from stepping forward and sharing her story with the world. This wasn't about publicity anymore. It was about legacy, identity, and his children's future. Every choice he'd made, leaving royal life, moving to California, trying to protect his family, had brought him here, and now there was no turning back. According to insiders, Harry picked up the phone one last time to reach his legal team. His tone was steady, but the urgency was undeniable. He wasn't looking for advice, he was confirming action. Everything needed to be exact: the timing, the records, the wording. Nothing could be left unclear. By midday, DL's preparations were finished. Every message, every record, every timestamp double-checked and aligned to the smallest detail. The evidence she had wasn't designed to shock or sensationalize. It was meant to prove things clearly and carefully. Still, the weight of it was impossible to ignore. It had the power to challenge years of carefully crafted perception, to question the image surrounding Meghan, and to reshape what the world thought it knew about Archie and Lilibet from the very beginning. Sources say Harry spent hours going through the files himself, checking everything, confirming what he could. Friends described his hands shaking as he read, fear mixing with determination. This wasn't just about guarding a secret anymore. It was about truth, identity, and a woman who claimed her name had been erased from a story she helped create. It was about choices made under immense pressure, choices that now carried a massive cost. Eventually, Harry called Meghan again. According to insiders, the call was short but tense. Her usual confidence cracked under the weight of the moment. "You can't do this, not yet. We're not ready," she reportedly said, her voice tight with emotion. Harry's reply was quiet but firm. "I don't care about being ready. I care about what's right, for the kids, for everyone. It ends now." The pause that followed felt endless, the kind of silence that changes everything. By late afternoon, his decision was final. Harry would step forward first. The plan was simple but powerful. He would acknowledge DL's existence and her connection without hostility or blame, focusing only on honesty and protecting the children above all else. From afar, DL was watching it unfold. She wasn't hiding or plotting. She was composed, prepared, and ready to support her account if the moment required it. For her, this wasn't revenge, it was reclamation, taking back her voice and setting the record straight after years in the shadows. Then the first ripple hit the news cycle. A quiet, unconfirmed leak began spreading. A woman named DL, reportedly connected to the births of Archie and Lilibet, was preparing to speak out publicly. Within minutes, analysts picked up the story, immediately recognizing how explosive it could become, legally, emotionally, and institutionally. Harry paced the room, phone in hand, watching the reactions pour in online and on TV. Friends later said he looked like a man holding his breath, tense, bracing for what was coming, but determined to face it head-on this time. Even Meghan's circle reportedly felt the rising pressure as calls from legal teams increased and strategy talks turned urgent. Crisis meetings flared up. Legal risks, public response plans, and media coordination were all on the table. But once the truth starts rolling, there's no way to slow it down. That night, Harry sat alone in the dim light of the living room, surrounded by piles of documents, clinic notes, emails, travel logs, legal papers, and time-marked messages. Each sheet was a reminder of how complicated things had become, of how many secrets had been carried under pressure for too long. Those close to him said he whispered to himself,
was born at home at Frogmore Cottage in Windsor, or whether he was
over and over, "I can't hide this anymore. I can't hide this anymore," like someone trying to summon the strength to do what he already knew he had to do. Then, according to insiders, Harry began drafting his statement. It wasn't dramatic or emotional. It was calm, precise, and honest. He wrote about DL's involvement, confirmed the timing inconsistencies, and made one thing clear above all else: the children's well-being came first. No finger-pointing, no big speeches, just raw truth written line by line. By early morning, the statement was finalized. Harry arranged a virtual interview with a respected journalist known for integrity and balance. The timing was intentional. The words were vetted by his legal team to make sure every line was exact. Insiders said it was unlike anything Harry had ever done before. When the interview began, Harry appeared serious but composed. His hands trembled slightly, yet his voice carried the weight of years spent guarding truths he could no longer hold in. He spoke slowly, deliberately, confirming DL's critical role, explaining the reasons behind their secrecy, and making it clear that every action taken was to protect his children above all else.
As evening settled in, Harry gathered a small group of trusted advisors for an emergency talk. The discussion was heavy and direct. How do we say this? How do we protect the kids? How do we come out of this without destroying what's left? Every question came with risks. Every delay felt dangerous. Every word in a potential statement felt like a trap waiting to backfire. But through all that confusion, one truth remained. DL's story wasn't going away, and if even part of it was proven true, it wouldn't just shift Harry and Meghan's image, it could rewrite what millions believed about their family's history. That night, according to insiders, Harry made one final call. He would step forward first, on his own terms. No leaks, no spin, no spectacle. This was no longer about image or damage control. It was going to be a reckoning, a confession, a release, and maybe even a painful kind of peace. In those final hours before everything came out, people close to Harry said he was strangely calm, quiet, still, focused. The man who had once hidden behind royal titles, fame, and perfectly crafted interviews had made his choice to face it all with honesty. For the first time, he wasn't answering to the public, the palace, or even to Meghan. He was answering to the truth itself. Meanwhile, DL kept working in silence. Those close to her said she wasn't driven by anger or revenge. Her focus was sharper than that. Every file was labeled, every message verified, every photo time-stamped. She wasn't chasing fame or attention. She said she was reclaiming her story, restoring a voice she believed had been wiped from history. Calm, methodical, and determined, DL wasn't just building a case, she was preparing to set the record straight. Somewhere between Montecito and London, across oceans and time zones, both sides were bracing for impact. Insiders whispered that what was about to happen could become one of the most significant revelations in modern royal history. And though Harry seemed ready, the world absolutely was not. As dawn broke over Montecito, the air outside was heavy, tense, almost suffocating. Inside the mansion, Harry couldn't stop pacing, his mind racing through every moment that had led to this point. Every decision, every silence, every carefully hidden truth weighed on him. Friends said he hadn't slept at all, just waiting, knowing DL was hours away from stepping forward and sharing her story with the world. This wasn't about publicity anymore. It was about legacy, identity, and his children's future. Every choice he'd made, leaving royal life, moving to California, trying to protect his family, had brought him here, and now there was no turning back. According to insiders, Harry picked up the phone one last time to reach his legal team. His tone was steady, but the urgency was undeniable. He wasn't looking for advice, he was confirming action. Everything needed to be exact: the timing, the records, the wording. Nothing could be left unclear. By midday, DL's preparations were finished. Every message, every record, every timestamp double-checked and aligned to the smallest detail. The evidence she had wasn't designed to shock or sensationalize. It was meant to prove things clearly and carefully. Still, the weight of it was impossible to ignore. It had the power to challenge years of carefully crafted perception, to question the image surrounding Meghan, and to reshape what the world thought it knew about Archie and Lilibet from the very beginning. Sources say Harry spent hours going through the files himself, checking everything, confirming what he could. Friends described his hands shaking as he read, fear mixing with determination. This wasn't just about guarding a secret anymore. It was about truth, identity, and a woman who claimed her name had been erased from a story she helped create. It was about choices made under immense pressure, choices that now carried a massive cost. Eventually, Harry called Meghan again. According to insiders, the call was short but tense. Her usual confidence cracked under the weight of the moment. "You can't do this, not yet. We're not ready," she reportedly said, her voice tight with emotion. Harry's reply was quiet but firm. "I don't care about being ready. I care about what's right, for the kids, for everyone. It ends now." The pause that followed felt endless, the kind of silence that changes everything. By late afternoon, his decision was final. Harry would step forward first. The plan was simple but powerful. He would acknowledge DL's existence and her connection without hostility or blame, focusing only on honesty and protecting the children above all else. From afar, DL was watching it unfold. She wasn't hiding or plotting. She was composed, prepared, and ready to support her account if the moment required it. For her, this wasn't revenge, it was reclamation, taking back her voice and setting the record straight after years in the shadows. Then the first ripple hit the news cycle. A quiet, unconfirmed leak began spreading. A woman named DL, reportedly connected to the births of Archie and Lilibet, was preparing to speak out publicly. Within minutes, analysts picked up the story, immediately recognizing how explosive it could become, legally, emotionally, and institutionally. Harry paced the room, phone in hand, watching the reactions pour in online and on TV. Friends later said he looked like a man holding his breath, tense, bracing for what was coming, but determined to face it head-on this time. Even Meghan's circle reportedly felt the rising pressure as calls from legal teams increased and strategy talks turned urgent. Crisis meetings flared up. Legal risks, public response plans, and media coordination were all on the table. But once the truth starts rolling, there's no way to slow it down. That night, Harry sat alone in the dim light of the living room, surrounded by piles of documents, clinic notes, emails, travel logs, legal papers, and time-marked messages. Each sheet was a reminder of how complicated things had become, of how many secrets had been carried under pressure for too long. Those close to him said he whispered to himself over and over, "I can't hide this anymore. I can't hide this anymore," like someone trying to summon the strength to do what he already knew he had to do. Then, according to insiders, Harry began drafting his statement. It wasn't dramatic or emotional. It was calm, precise, and honest. He wrote about DL's involvement, confirmed the timing inconsistencies, and made one thing clear above all else: the children's well-being came first. No finger-pointing, no big speeches, just raw truth written line by line. By early morning, the statement was finalized. Harry arranged a virtual interview with a respected journalist known for integrity and balance. The timing was intentional. The words were vetted by his legal team to make sure every line was exact. Insiders said it was unlike anything Harry had ever done before. When the interview began, Harry appeared serious but composed. His hands trembled slightly, yet his voice carried the weight of years spent guarding truths he could no longer hold in. He spoke slowly, deliberately, confirming DL's critical role, explaining the reasons behind their secrecy, and making it clear that every action taken was to protect his children above all else. During the interview, Harry didn't hold back. He openly admitted to mistakes, acknowledged the complicated nature of the entire situation, and expressed genuine regret for anyone who had been affected by it. But when the conversation turned toward Meghan, everything shifted. His tone softened, not defensive, not accusatory, just honest. "I did what I thought was best," he said quietly, his voice trembling at moments. "But I can't keep living through silence. The truth deserves to be heard." He made it clear that his honesty didn't erase the love he had for his children, or even for Meghan, but he couldn't keep pretending anymore. What mattered now was transparency, not image. Outside, the world went wild. News outlets broke the story across every platform imaginable. Analysts pored over every single word, studying his pauses, tone, and body language like it was a puzzle to decode. Social media was instantly flooded, timelines buzzing with heated debates, divided opinions, and endless speculation. Supporters praised him for his courage, calling it overdue honesty, while critics accused him of turning his back on the royal circle. Meanwhile, DL stayed quiet but alert. Insiders said she watched the chaos unfold from a distance, ready to confirm her story with documentation if needed. Her materials were organized and time-stamped, waiting for the moment the world would see her truth under the public eye. By that afternoon, everything had changed. Harry's statement had already cracked through years of perfectly maintained image and control. The narrative had shifted completely. It wasn't just about Meghan or Harry anymore. It was about DL, about truth and identity, about the hidden costs of decisions made behind locked doors. Legal experts quickly jumped into the discussion, dissecting the implications this could have on royal procedure and public records. Historians debated how it might reshape the modern royal timeline, while psychologists broke down what this meant for public trust and emotional fallout. Inside Montecito, the energy was the opposite. Quiet, still, almost drained. Sources said Harry sat alone after the interview, exhausted but somehow lighter, like a man who had finally dropped the weight he'd been carrying for years. The truth had finally come out. Painful, public, and irreversible, but it was on his terms. For the first time in years, Meghan's carefully maintained image had been shaken. The picture-perfect control she once held over her public story was slipping away. Now she faced something she couldn't reshape, a narrative she couldn't edit or manage, and the world was waiting to see what she would do next. Meanwhile, DL stayed composed and ready. Every document she had gathered was at her fingertips, verified, organized, and waiting for official review if required. What once felt like her private truth had grown far beyond her. Now it belonged to history, to legal records, and to the court of public opinion. The first shockwaves of what some were already calling a royal earthquake had officially hit. By the next morning, insiders said there was no going back. The world seemed to wake up under a new reality. News outlets flooded every channel and website with one headline: Harry had spoken, and DL was real. The story surrounding Archie and Lilibet's beginnings was no longer protected by flawless press releases or polished photographs. The truth, once hidden behind presentation, was finally being examined in full view. The media storm was instant and global. Some headlines were sympathetic, framing Harry as brave for speaking out. Others were harsh, questioning motives and timing.
But one thing was clear: this couldn't be ignored anymore. Inside Montecito, the illusion of the perfect royal fairy tale had fractured. Harry reportedly spent hours in silence, scrolling through endless news coverage, reading online reactions, watching commentary from experts and strangers alike. His jaw was tight, his hands clenched, but his focus had shifted. The decision was made, and there was no reversing it. Sources close to him said Harry understood this was just the beginning. DL's turn was next. Her statement, her proof, her chance to confirm everything with evidence. And with that would come the next wave: verification, legal discussions, and an avalanche of questions from the world's media. Insiders revealed that DL had already pulled together her team overnight, not to create chaos, but to manage what was coming carefully. She wasn't chasing drama or spectacle. She wanted order, accuracy, and control over her own truth this time. The woman who had once been silenced by legal agreements and pressure now moved with total focus and precision. DL worked tirelessly, organizing every piece of documentation she had: emails, invoices, travel details, and witness notes, each one verified, time-stamped, and cross-checked to perfection. If proven accurate, her files had the potential to completely reshape the public's understanding of what had really happened. By midday, a press briefing had been scheduled, but DL's approach was nothing like the usual media spectacle. There were no glossy photos, no flattering lighting, and no rehearsed statements. Insiders said she appeared exactly as herself: calm, confident, and unapologetic. She wasn't there to criticize Meghan, Harry, or the royal institution. Her goal was simple: to reclaim her own story, her identity, and the truth about Archie and Lilibet's beginnings. Meanwhile, Meghan was reportedly in what sources described as a controlled panic. Her advisors scrambled to manage the situation, drafting careful statements that emphasized family privacy and respect. Legal teams began preparing letters, while PR strategists worked around the clock, trying to predict every possible outcome. But insiders agreed the momentum had already shifted. Harry's public acknowledgement had changed everything. The world now knew that DL existed, that secrecy surrounded the story, and what people had believed for years might not be entirely accurate. The illusion had cracked, and reality was now front and center. According to sources close to the situation, Harry made one private request to DL before her public appearance: present your truth with facts, not anger. She reportedly agreed without hesitation. Her team later confirmed that all her materials, from clinic documentation to travel records, were authentic, with signatures, official verification marks, and matching timestamps. Insiders said the verification process was officially underway. Quiet but powerful. Experts were preparing to confirm each piece line by line. When DL finally appeared on camera, the reaction was instant and intense. She spoke calmly and clearly, walking viewers through timelines, key moments, and the circumstances she said surrounded the births, along with how she believed she had been removed from public acknowledgement. Her delivery was steady but powerful, and the weight of her words left audiences frozen in place.
"I'm here to explain my connection to Archie and Lilibet," she said carefully. "I have records, clinic notes, and documentation that support what I'm saying. I'm not here for conflict. I'm here for recognition." Her message wasn't loud or emotional. It was controlled, deliberate, and rooted in what she described as verifiable material. The response was immediate. Analysts broke down every sentence, every pause, every shift in tone. News networks switched to non-stop coverage as commentators discussed possible legal questions, institutional implications, and what this could mean for long-standing assumptions surrounding the family.
Social media exploded, timelines filled with debate, disbelief, support, and shock, all colliding at once. Inside Montecito, Harry reportedly watched the live broadcast in silence. Those close to him said he felt both relief and unease. Relief that DL presented her account calmly, without theatrics or exaggeration, and unease over what the next phase would bring. Questions were already forming about verification, accountability, and Meghan's role in how the story had been presented publicly. Sources say Harry quietly repeated to himself, "This is bigger than we ever thought. Bigger than stories, bigger than images." He understood the moment had crossed a line where nothing could be simplified anymore. Meanwhile, Meghan's carefully managed public image was under intense pressure. The polished portrayal of a confident duchess was suddenly being questioned from all angles. PR teams reportedly rushed to prepare responses, but DL's structured presentation, centered on documentation and timelines, left very little space for quick explanations or spin. Insiders described non-stop legal discussions, emergency reviews of old public statements, and intense efforts to anticipate every possible challenge tied to the documents now entering public view. The stakes were enormous. Analysts warned that if DL's materials were formally verified, the monarchy could face a level of scrutiny rarely seen before. Issues tied to records, procedures, and long-standing traditions were suddenly under a microscope. Systems shaped by centuries of law and protocol now being questioned in real time. Experts pointed out that any inconsistency, especially one involving secrecy or unconventional decisions, could spark inquiries far beyond the UK. International attention was already building. The integrity of long-standing institutions, once assumed unshakable, was now being openly debated. And that alone marked a major shift. Harry, sources say, began to fully grasp the scale of what was unfolding. Friends described him taking long walks across the estate, staring out towards the Pacific, replaying every decision that led to this moment. "I thought I was protecting them," he reportedly told someone close to him. "I didn't realize protection could feel like erasing someone." The weight of that realization hit hard. DL's information release was deliberate and structured. Her team presented supporting materials alongside her statements, emails showing clinic communications, records confirming enforced confidentiality, and timestamps aligned with key dates already known publicly. Her legal representatives stressed this wasn't about spectacle or shock value. It was about correcting the public record and making sure her claimed role was acknowledged clearly and fairly on both sides of the Atlantic. They emphasized that every document had been preserved carefully, ready for independent review. No exaggeration, no added drama, just records presented for verification. As analysts reviewed the materials, discussions intensified across legal, historical, and media circles alike. Reports said the palace shifted into full crisis mode. Advisors rushed into emergency meetings, while legal teams carefully reviewed DL's claims line by line. Serious questions surfaced at the highest levels about records, long-standing procedures, and how private arrangements may have intersected with public responsibilities. According to sources, this was a situation the monarchy had worked hard to avoid for decades. Private decisions now colliding with public accountability. Back in Montecito, Harry reportedly drafted a follow-up statement, personal, clear, and grounded in responsibility. He acknowledged his part, confirmed that the children were safe and cared for, and admitted that secrecy, even when meant as protection, had only postponed a reckoning that was always coming. He didn't defend silence, and he didn't criticize Meghan. Instead, he focused on honesty, his children, and the choices he himself had made. The public response was immediate and overwhelming. Social platforms filled with reactions from all sides. Supporters praised what they saw as courage and openness, while critics demanded deeper accountability. Legal analysts weighed in on possible outcomes, and historians began placing the moment in broader context, calling it one of the most unusual challenges the modern monarchy had faced. Insiders described the situation as a slow-moving earthquake, each new detail sending ripples through families, institutions, and public opinion alike. For Harry, the sense of relief that came with speaking openly was balanced by the reality that followed: scrutiny, legal review, and relentless media attention. Still, sources said he remained firm in his decision, choosing transparency over image management. According to those close to the process, DL's materials allowed the public, for the first time, to compare claims directly with supporting records. Emails, clinic notes, travel documentation, and official logs all aligned with her account, giving observers a clearer picture than ever before. The sheer precision of the paperwork left very little wiggle room. If independently confirmed, DL's materials could seriously challenge long-standing, carefully managed stories about royal births, especially how Archie and Lilibet were introduced to the public. The impact was instant and global. International media outlets jumped on the story, while commentators argued about ethics, legal standards, and what this could mean for royal procedures going forward. Supporters of DL demanded recognition and transparency, saying her role deserved to be formally acknowledged. Meanwhile, insiders said Meghan pulled further back from the spotlight, focusing instead on private conversations with legal teams and strategic advisors. The pressure was building fast.
Harry reportedly took a step he never expected to take. He reached out to DL directly. Sources stressed this wasn't about alliances or optics, but accountability. He wanted to ensure her safety, her credibility, and that the disclosure process stayed controlled and responsible. To those close to him, it marked a turning point, a clear sign that he was no longer avoiding a truth that had been buried for too long. By nightfall, formal legal reviews were already underway, and the direction of the story had permanently shifted. The California night buzzed with tension. Legal teams in both the UK and the US worked late, combing through records, confidentiality agreements, and stacks of documentation. Early assessments, insiders said, hinted at serious consequences, deeply personal but also institutional. Questions around procedure, legitimacy, and long-standing traditions loomed larger than ever. Harry reportedly spent the night surrounded by notes and drafts, refining statements, rereading timelines, and replaying every decision that had led to this moment. The weight of it all was enormous. Friends said Harry looked drained, worn down by years of silence, yet completely resolved. He knew that once the truth surfaced, there was no way to control where it went next, and he accepted that. The consequences were unavoidable, and the moment had finally arrived. Those close to DL insisted she remained calm and focused throughout it all. Her team worked with extreme care, organizing every document, verifying every detail, and preparing for intense scrutiny. She made one thing clear again and again. This was never about retaliation. It was about reclaiming her identity, receiving acknowledgement, and placing undeniable facts into the public record. By the following morning, the story had taken on a momentum of its own. News outlets everywhere ran with the developments. Harry had confirmed DL's existence. The long-held secrecy had been broken. The supporting materials were detailed, verifiable, and impossible to brush aside. Social media exploded with reactions, theories, debates, and questions spreading at lightning speed. Commentators speculated endlessly about Meghan's silence. Legal experts discussed what this could mean for long-standing procedures and public accountability. And through it all,
Harry finally allowed himself a quiet moment to reflect. The disclosure had been made. The truth had been acknowledged. The children were safe, and DL's role had been publicly recognized for the first time in years. For the first time in a long while, he could finally breathe. Even knowing this wasn't the end, sources stressed that the relief came with the understanding that more scrutiny, legal review, and public debate still lay ahead. One question now hung in the air, impossible to ignore. How much of this story is still waiting to be revealed? If you found this breakdown insightful, make sure to like the video, subscribe for more deep dives like this, and comment below with your thoughts. Because this story is far from over, and we'll be following every twist as it unfolds.